When I was younger, I went through a super big Uzi phase, and I do mean a super big fucking Uzi phase. I also went through a huge Taylor Swift phase too, and couldn't decide who to make the perfect album for yet, so I spun a wheel and Uzi came out in the best out of three, so here we are on our journey to make the perfect Uzi album. This video is being made before the Pink album, so if it releases and the Pink album drops after this video, don't ask me why it's not there. But at the same time, if it drops before I finish the video, I'll definitely add the Pink album in it. But if not, I'll probably just review it in a separate video if that's the case. I do remember really liking Uzi, and as time went by and more albums were dropped, I kinda got tired of him. I still think his old music is fire, but it just feels like now he's just making music that sounds good and not just overall good music. The last good album was probably Love Is Rage 2, to be honest. Anything after that is either mid or sucks, and that's coming from a hardcore fan. I haven't listened to a full Uzi album in a pretty long time, and I also don't remember much from his newer albums besides that I thought they were decent, and I think it'd be nice to go through each album and see what I think now with a fresh take on things. For those of you who don't know how this works, I'm going to be listening to every Uzi album that he has and pick out songs from each album to put in order to make the perfect Uzi album. I will also be rating each album along the way because why not? But that's enough of wasting your time though, let's get right into this video. Love Is Rage is the first album in Uzi's catalog and will be where this video will be starting with first. A lot of people don't know that as much as Uzi uses a lot of melodic notes in his songs, he actually does rap, and this album is one of those instances where he decides to rap, fully instead of actually, using a lot of melodies and stuff like that. I can understand why a lot of people don't know he can rap like this, since he really does only rap like this on features and sometimes his own songs, so if you're a real fan like hardcore, you'd know this, because you would listen to all his music, but a casual listener probably wouldn't really know. The album is 45 minutes long and only has one feature, which is Young Thug, and you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but I already knew this album was not going to be for me. I've never really cared for this album since I was like 14, 15, and I've re-listened to every album before this except for this one. I don't know what it is, but I just don't care about this album. Most time, actually be forgetting that this is the original Love Is Rage. There is one song I've always liked though, and that's Super Saiyan. I've genuinely thought Super Saiyan was such a hard ass song since I heard it, and I don't know why, to be honest. Like, this album isn't bad, it just doesn't seem like my taste in music. If Uzi continued to rap like this, I probably never would have ended up as big as a fan as I am now. This album feels like Uzi is still finding his sound and testing the waters, which is good, but at the same time, some of these songs suck. Like Lamborghini Dream sucks. I hate Young Thug's verse, and Uzi gets annoying with that background vocal he keeps hitting, and I'm like, can you fucking stop already? The order the songs are in isn't good either, to be honest. I don't know if he even genuinely took the time to place these songs, because he's really not showing that in this album. Like, I can see that my opinion about the album hasn't really changed. If anything, now I have an actual reason as to why I don't like this album. I got halfway through and was already getting over listening to it. There were songs I thought about putting in, but had garbage lyrics or just weren't good in general. Like, you could listen to this album on shuffle and it'd be damn near the same as the regular placement. I know some of y'all genuinely like this album and praise it like it's gold, but this album blows. It definitely shouldn't have been 43 minutes either. Like, I'm currently listening to the album as I'm writing this and just waiting for it to go off, but it just keeps dragging this shit on. I didn't like the song Belly either. That song also sucks and is annoying as hell. He keeps repeating that annoying ass hook and using that annoying ass flow in the song, and I just do not fuck with it. I liked Enemies. That song was pretty damn fire, but besides that and Super Saiyan, I was pretty bored by this album. I'm gonna have to give this a 4 out of 10. I don't really like most of this album, and a lot of the songs just come off as annoying or they're just actually trash. I am very much an Uzi fan, but I'm going to keep pretending this album doesn't exist and never come back to it again. I'll be taking Super Saiyan and Enemies into consideration for this next album that I'll be making. The next album on the list is Lil Uzi Vert vs. The World. If you're listening to these albums back to back, you can see the jump from different tones like as soon as you start the second album. The first album felt like Uzi was just testing the waters, but this one feels like Uzi actually found his sound with this one. Sound wise, this album is pretty damn good, but lyrically it's nothing to be impressed at. I know a lot of you only listen to music for the vibes and not the lyrics, but I'm not that guy.
Okay? You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
I want to vibe and hear good lyrics. I don't want to listen to your song and you then find out that you're spitting pure ass. If I have to tune out your lyrics to listen to it, I just won't listen to it. I'm not saying Uzi is that bad, but I wanted to explain that lyrics also matter to me. This album sounds like he definitely didn't write this and instead freestyle all, if not most, of these damn songs. The album is good when it comes to song selection. The songs all sound like they were put together on purpose and fit together, but the song placement makes it sound more like a Uzi compilation, but at least the songs go together, I guess. The lyrics are really the only thing that stands out to me the most. It's not the absolute worst, but I've noticed that a lot of the times his hooks are the best part about these songs, and the verses, while sounding good, are lyrically pretty damn bad. I could see why you'd really like this album if you blocked out the lyrics, because it definitely is pleasing to the ears. Like P's and Q's is a fire song to just vibe and shit. You could play this album and smoke, or get up and go skate and shit while just having this in your ears. I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10. It's not that bad to be honest, and I do really like most of the songs on here. He just needed better placement, or at least some better fucking lyrics. I'm also going to be taking Canadian Goose, Grab the Wheel, You Was Right, Baby Are You Home, and P's and Q's into consideration for the album. The next album is The Perfect Love Tape, which is actually my favorite Uzi album and has been for a while. It's even my wallpaper for every phone I've gotten since I found out about this album. There's 10 songs in the album, and I have 8 of them in my like songs already. I'm excited to see if I enjoy this as much as I did when I first found out about it, and excited to see which songs I'll consider for the album. Song wise, I can see why I love this album. This shit has some good ass songs. I'll be real though, I never really liked Of Course We Ghetto Flowers. Like out of the 10 songs on the album, that song was one of the ones I wasn't rocking with before this, and it still has not changed. I do not like that fucking song. This isn't even really an album, it's more of an EP to be honest. It's just barely long enough to be considered an album. The songs are good, but they're really just thrown in there with no real theme or placement, which also makes me feel like he just wanted this to be an EP instead of an actual album. I'm not gonna excuse the fact that the album is badly placed just because the album is short though. The production on this album is pretty good. I like his vocals in most songs, and I do think that everything was mixed properly, and his beat selection wasn't bad either. I personally feel like a lot of the beats Uzi picks aren't good to me, but they fit his style so perfectly I don't even really care. Like if you played me some of the instrumentals from Uzi songs while I was at the studio, I'd be like, what do you want me to do with this? I'll keep it short this time and give the rating already since the album is pretty short. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I do like the songs on here a lot, but that's it. The album as a whole doesn't feel right. No one took the time to make this a proper album or a proper EP. Also, I'll be taking Sideline Watching, I Can Drive, Rhonda, and 7 Million into consideration for the album. I remember being in school at the time when Love is Rage 2 was about to drop, and I stayed up until 12 a.m. on a school night to listen to this album. I didn't even have Spotify, so I had to wait an hour past midnight until the album got uploaded to a fucking torrent site just so I could fucking hear it. It's been a good while since I've listened to this album, but I do really hope it's as good as I remember. This album starts off clean as a bitch. That opening at the beginning of the album is fire, if you ask me. The second song on the album did feel kind of weird to have as a second song, even though it did go with the theme of the album. I just think it shouldn't have been the second song. I don't think y'all understand how much I care about the placing of an album. Once you're done watching my videos, you're going to be able to hear exactly what I'm talking about when you go re-listen to these albums. Also, I could tell what the theme of the album was sound-wise, but I couldn't tell the theme lyrically. Sound-wise, Uzi was coming with this futuristic type of sound that was definitely unique at the time. Lyrically though, he's talking about a lot of different shit. Like Sauce It Up should have been in a deluxe or something, because even though it sounds good, it fits the theme of the album sound-wise, he's just talking about fucking women and getting money and shit. He has songs like Dark Queen that actually have meaning behind the lyrics, and you can feel the sadness in the songs. And if he would have gone with more songs like that, this album would have been a fucking slapper, bro. Like, I know Uzi is not the best lyrically. Trust me, I know. I listen to No Sleep Leak, and I can see that lyrically he is different for sure. But that doesn't mean he can't get better. Uzi doesn't do punchlines, but he has the ability to use his voice and lyrics to make you feel what he's saying and even make you visualize his experience. Songs like The Way Life Goes and Dark Queen show you exactly what I mean when you listen to them. I'm not going to lie, there are some pretty bad songs in this album. I don't like the song For Real. That shit is garbage. I didn't even think there were Uzi songs I genuinely didn't like until I listened to this fucking album. I think my mind kind of decided that I didn't need these songs in my brain and just made me forget about most of this shit on purpose. There are songs that are very good, like Feelings Mutual and EXO Tour Life, but a lot of these songs on this album are pretty bad. Like the song Early 20 Rager feels long as shit, doesn't it? I was sitting there wondering when it would go off, and it just kept going and going and fucking going. It's the same with Mammy, or however you say it. I'm in my seat going, how long is this damn song? Like, a song could be over 3 minutes, but Uzi high-key be dragging these songs out for no damn reason. I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10. If a few of these songs were taken out of the album, I would give it an 8 or a 9, but the songs I didn't like really took away from the good that was in this album. I'm going to be taking 2, The Way Life Goes, Feelings Mutual, How to Talk, X, Malfunction, Dark Queen, and EXO Tour Life into consideration for the album. Eternal Atake was so hyped up for like the longest time. Me and my bros were fiending for this damn album. I remember having a playlist full of Uzi snippets, and I would listen to it all the time. I also remember coming out and then listening to the album finally, and then just going, eh. It was just decent to me when it came out. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't impressed, and I'm wondering if I'll actually like it this time around.
1 hour later.
I had every right to think that this shit was mid, I'm not gonna lie, bro. This shit is so... it's bad. It's not that good. The crazy part about this is that I had every song in this album in my like songs already, and at first I was like, I don't know how I put every song in my like songs while thinking that shit was mid at the time. But we'll get into that later. I actually ended up turning the album off to go to sleep and then finishing it later because my mom didn't raise a fucking quitter. The album has no real theme. Like, I know y'all are gonna say that there was a theme since the skits were all about Uzi getting abducted by aliens, but let's take the time to be real with ourselves for a damn second here. Besides the skits, there wasn't any real plot. Uzi didn't rap about any topics consistently enough to be considered to have an actual theme. Each song sounded like he was just fucking around and freestyling, and then all of a sudden these random ass alien skits would come out of nowhere and have nothing to do with the songs. The skits out of the album, and there's nothing memorable about this, and the skits don't even tie into the song, so there's no real reason for him to even have them besides the fact that he probably just thought it would have been fun to do it. He does have some futuristic space type beats going on, but again, he's not rapping about anything at all. He's just speaking words into a mic and not making an actual song. These songs themselves are good vibes, but the album just isn't good in general. I know Uzi said he was rushed to make this album and he made it last minute, and I'm going to be honest, it obviously fucking shows, like seriously. I can see why I put a lot of the songs in my like songs as I get more into the album. The songs are nice singles, but when you put them together you realize they have nothing tying them together except maybe the beats. The vibes flip-flop so much between this album. One moment he wants me to be lit, and then the next he wants me to be sad. What do you want from me, Uzi?
What more do you want from me?
Futsal Shuffle comes on right after P2, and Futsal Shuffle is a decent song, but putting it at the end of the album should show you how much he did not give a fuck about this album. The lyrics also haven't gotten any better, with bars like, my money rise like my boner. Uzi, what the fuck are you saying to me? Like, this is the type of shit that makes it hard for me to defend your music. Uzi said, they tryna get your baloney, these niggas full of baloney.
Now listen! That's called motherfucking bars, nigga!
The other albums weren't that bad, but this album genuinely sucks ass, and I don't care for it as a whole, but I do like some of the songs by themselves though. I'm giving this album a 4 out of 10. I didn't like it, but it could have been way better if he actually tried to make a good album instead of trying to ruin my day. I'll also be taking no songs into consideration for this album. Love vs. the World 2 is the deluxe to Eternal Take. It's also what Uzi originally wanted to drop, but almost every song on here ended up getting leaked over the years, which is why he made a whole new album instead. Even though it's a deluxe, Uzi made this to be a whole standalone album and even gave it its own name. Is it better than Eternal Take? Yeah, it's better than whatever the fuck Eternal Take was supposed to be. But it still does suffer from the same problems though. And that problem is the placement. The songs on here are really good, and I did like listening to the album, but I feel like since he just put all the songs that we expected on here, he didn't actually try to place the album properly. I also feel like this definitely should have dropped earlier in Uzi's career. I feel like this could have been a nice follow-up to the Perfect Love tape or something, but Love vs. the World 2 and Eternal Take should not have been after Love is Rage 2. This album genuinely feels like it was supposed to be a "here nigga damn" for the fans who waited for these songs. After watching Uzi evolve into something more, these two albums seem even more of a letdown because you can see how far he came in the last albums, and then we get shit like Eternal Take, which reverses all the work that he put in. This album has better singles than Eternal Take, but I still feel like it also should have been a bunch of singles if they weren't going to even try placing these properly. I'm going to be taking nothing from this album. To be honest, I thought I'd end up liking it more, but I'm still just meh on it, so it's not really looking too good for Uzi right now. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. It's just mid. It's not horrible, but it's not good either. It's just genuinely straight down the middle. And next up, we have Uzi's latest album so far. When I first found out that Uzi was going to drop a collab album with Future, I was like, oh yes, thank God. Uzi is finally going to redeem himself and make something good. When it came out, most of my friends who were fans of Uzi were split in the middle. At the time, I thought it was better than Eternal Take, but my other friend thought it was worse than Eternal Take, and while that's his own opinion, we can agree that it's a stupid one. I'm going to re-listen to this album and hopefully come out with positive reviews. I could see why my bro thought it was worse than Eternal Take. This is better than Eternal Take, but it does have one problem. It's fucking boring. I yawned so many times listening to this album, and I even yawned while writing this shit. I kinda phased out a few times while listening, and I almost went and took a fucking nap during this album, I'm not gonna lie. This album just seems ridiculously long. I was so confused to see that this shit was still going on in my ears. This album just drags on and on and on and on and on again. This would have been better as an EP or something. I think they genuinely just had a bunch of songs together and wanted to release them, so they made this album. I zoned out a little bit during the album and ended up forgetting Future was even here, to be honest. Future also has the same problem as Uzi. He's lyrically garbage. I know y'all are about to dick ride this man in my comments about how he's the GOAT and he's the best alive, but I'm just gonna tune that shit out and pretend you aren't lying in my ears. Sound wise, I can see why everyone was excited for this album, but lyrically it's garbage, and altogether this album was genuinely a letdown. I'll be giving this album another 5 out of 10, it's just alright to be honest. It almost put me to sleep like 5 times, so I'm not giving it anything high, because it doesn't deserve it. Also, I'll be taking Real Baby Pluto, Lullaby, and Off That into consideration for this album. I listened to the deluxe album for the Uzi and Future collab, and it was way better than the original album, to be honest. I actually woke up from the coma the original album put me into. I'm going to be taking Heart in Pieces and Because of You into consideration for the album from this deluxe album, and now it's time to put everything all together. It's finally time for the perfect Uzi album, the moment you've all been waiting for, and I now present to you Love is Dead. For this album, I wanted to make an album that shows Uzi going through a heartbreak and his feelings as he tries to handle that heartbreak. The album comes together at a total of 52 minutes and 82 seconds, which isn't too long, but it's definitely not too short either. I feel like I like this album, but it's not amazing. Like, it's definitely a good vibe, and I do feel like I could just smoke a blunt and chill to it. I think since it's more of a chill album, that's why I'm not as excited about it. But as I get more into the album, I can feel myself starting to think about the past and reminiscing on things that I miss and shit like that. If you're more into a chill, emotional type album, then this is definitely going to be for you. It'll definitely hit harder if you just broke up with someone or you're having relationship problems. For the song placement, I decided to do How to Talk, Heart in Pieces, Rhonda, I Can Drive, You Was Right, Grab the Wheel, P's and Q's, Malfunction, Lullaby, Dark Queen, The Way Life Goes, XO Tour Life, X, Feelings Mutual, and Baby Are You Home. I'm going to give this album a 7 out of 10. It was a nice album to me, but I feel like other people probably would appreciate it way more than I did, to be honest. Man, this deluxe album is probably my best fucking work. Like, the way each song blends into each other and the beat drops into this next song is definitely perfection. Like, I've definitely outdone myself this song. The deluxe album is definitely something to get hyped to while also being good listening wise. I had a hard time with the main album, but this deluxe album came out so fucking good. I named this album The Revival, and I wanted it to be a follow up to the main album, which is supposed to be about Uzi getting heartbroken, while the deluxe album is supposed to show that he's over it and that he has been revived as something new, and I feel like I definitely did that with this shit. For the songs, I placed the album in the order of Canadian Goose, Real Baby Pluto, Super Saiyan, Off That, Enemies, 7 Million, and Sideline Watching. I'm giving this deluxe album a 9 out of 10. This shit is fire, and I refuse to hear anything slandering it. But pretty much that's it. That's the video. I'm not gonna lie, I'm sick of shit. Like and subscribe if you want to. You already know what the fuck going on.
Lord's vibe is so good.